song is really making waves because I think everyone agrees with it. Nyame is our CCTV and his eyes are on us every single day because he cares for you and me. And the fact that we can see, we can move, we can hear means that he has given us another day to live. Of course, it's not only me. I have the guys flashing me left and right, my macho men in studio. And that's what Johnny and you're dancing. Good morning.
Johnny started the week on a good note.
It is, and I'm happy.
Whether you had a gloomy weekend, the weekend was bad, whatever it is, the only thing you can do is like, hey, shake that gloomy face off and put on that smiling one and get ready for the week. It's a Monday. And the guy on your screen said that, well, there's a God who sits high up there. And he's looking down at us, and he's never let us down. I'm sure this weekend is certainly going to make your week a great, great one. Good morning once again.
Morning,
As
morning.
for Johnny, he's excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I mean,
I know he's broke, but he's excited. I know.
I am not broke.
He's broke. The guy is
Are you in his pocket?
I know.
The only thing that you need to do is to trust in God completely.
Even if you are
don't put your hopes on man. They will disappoint you. They will promise and fail.
And there's no money.
So just trust God. He's got a CCTV. It's positioned up high. Whatever you do, it will grab you.
But only pray that it's not the kind of Ghana CCTV we talk about where the doom saw would affect it or the street lights will not be helping. I hope our God is a CCTV of Europe.
That works.
Right. Good morning, guys. It's a brand new week, the 11th of June. So we're running.
I think this year has something special because it seems to be progressing faster than we thought it would. And our Muslim brothers are gradually coming to the end of the fast. I feel like they just started. Of course, they won't agree with me. Those who are actually going through it have been waiting for this period. But I'm sure Allah has brought them this far. We celebrate with them.
I know a few friends who are not Muslims who are joining them from tomorrow. So that you wrap up with them and enjoy the Salah. Because you don't do crowd, there's no fun. So you join them like 35th or 36th, then you join them. So by the 40th, you are fine. You're all fasted.
So by Thursday, they're over?
Yeah. So you all fasted. So by Tuesday, you start joining them. Wednesday, Thursday, then you all go and pray.
I think the other part of it is those who, usually it's women who suffer for this when they have to repay the days that they weren't able to because of all the other issues that could happen, all the new medical
male
conditions.
Friends who always use medical conditions.
Exactly.
Never fasted before.
But otherwise,
they always tell you, oh, me have ulcer. He doesn't have ulcer, but he doesn't fast.
He's doing all the things that ulcer patients shouldn't do, but he claims he has ulcer when the fast comes.
I think I will attest to this better. Here, the fasting has a lot of health consequences, and that it's good for us. Once in a while, we got to keep this thing empty and keep it running.
Cleanse it, yes.
So maybe even those of us who are not Muslims, we should try these ones.
But Christians have their
Christians
time
have the Lent, the period of Lent preceding.
But is it for all?
Yes, I mean for the Orthodox churches, but then the charismatic churches also, they do it regularly. Like the pastor just has a vision and 21 days. No, they start from 21 first, 21, 40 days fast, 36 days. I don't know how they do the calculation, but sometimes the pastor just comes and says,
some of them are based on scriptures in the Bible.
We are going 21 days
without water.
Yeah, and you survive.
Anthony Jackson's never fasted.
No, he can't fast.
Please don't talk about Please,
how you doing?
I'm good.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. I met you.
I saw you on
in your dream.
No, we did Facebook Live. You forgot it.
I see.
You and me.
I saw you on
we said we won't tell right.
I saw George.
So the two of them met behind
I saw George and AJ on the Unity Walk last Saturday.
Unity to where?
No, they were on their own Unity Walk.
Anyway, AJ, you got the news for us?
The news is coming up shortly after this. Good morning. This is New Day News for Monday morning. Coming up. Minority in Parliament to boycott Ghana card registration today. And the director of the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau, COP, Kofi Boakye, tasked to look into allegations of bribery and corruption against some officials of the Ghana Football Association. The Lands Commission in the Eastern Region has been accused of fraud. We will give you details shortly. Let's start off in Parliament, where the Minority Caucus say they will be unable to participate in the registration exercise for the National Identification Card slated for today, June 11, at Parliament House. A press release signed by the Minority Leader and MP for Tamale South, Haruna Idrisu, cited some reasons, including significant questions about the cost, scope, and legality of the project, as well as registration requirements. According to the statement, the leadership of the National Identification Authority has been less than candid with the people of Ghana on the total cost of the project, adding despite the provision of government support by the Akufo-Addo government in respect of revenue projections for the project, this has not been brought to Parliament for approval in accordance with the law. The Minority Caucus in Parliament said it remains opposed to the restriction of identification requirements for registration to passports and birth certificates, as this will prevent about 23 million Ghanaians from obtaining the Ghana card and deprive them of any benefit thereof. So on the issue, Minority Chief Whip Mohammed Muntaka has defended the minority's decision to boycott the Ghana card registration for Parliament today. He spoke with my colleague earlier on News 360.
First, the challenge we have is that on 2 occasions, the National Identification Authority had not been able to appear before the House. I don't want to say they refused, because we sent them invitation that Parliament wanted to interact with them about the process, about the costing and all the other issues. And the last 2 weeks, just at the nick of time, they called us, they said they were not able to come. So they were pleading that we should schedule for last week. We agreed and scheduled for last week. All of a sudden, last week, Thursday, they came again that unfortunately they are not able to come to meet members of Parliament, but they will be willing to do it on Tuesday. Suddenly, we heard after Friday we closed that tomorrow they are starting the registration in Parliament. And this is shocking to us. For 2 weeks, we cannot find time to come and meet parliamentarians to ask the relevant issues concerning the whole process. Because, my brother, as you may see in our statement, that they are talking about 1.2 billion. We have document that shows that they are talking about 1.4 billion. We have document that shows that they have given sovereign guarantee. We have document that shows that they are dealing with an international company. All this requires that they come before Parliament. And we wanted to get this clarification from them. Yet, they've gone ahead to start the process without coming to see Parliament. And now, to mock us, they are bringing it to our doorsteps so that they will get us registered. So when we are talking about why have they not appeared before Parliament, they say, but you've also registered. We are not going to be part of that exercise. And that's why Friday, when we had this, we've been struggling to talk to our colleagues on the majority. I spoke to my colleague on the majority chief whip, and he said that, well, we need to get in touch with majority leader. All of us have been trying to get majority leader. But today is Sunday, and our fear is that if we do not issue the statement to tell our members not to participate, tomorrow morning may be too late. But believe me, on Tuesday, we are coming up with a full-blown press conference to raise all the issues that will have raised if they had appeared before us, which they are refusing to.
Have you been able to engage the leadership of the NIA as to why they are unable to meet you?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And the sad thing is that even in all this, it's not that they come to tell us that, we are not able to come and do the presentation, so please, we are pleading for it. They call to tell. They call to tell. So most of the time, is our colleagues in the majority, I had a call, they said, and I thought that was not respectful to the representatives of the people. They needed to appear before us. That is paramount, because that will pave way for us to understand exactly what they are doing, what is the implication on the state, and we'll be able to then educate our constituents. Remember, the 275 of us represent every part of this country. So if we ourselves don't understand what you are doing, and then you started rolling out, we heard that they were at the Flagstaff House or Jubilee House, and tomorrow they are talking about the whole of next week they are going to be in Parliament. As if nothing, there are no concerns. And we believe that there are concerns. They should suspend the process. They should come appear before us. Let us raise all the fundamental issues about the birth cert, the passport. I mean, how can someone hold a voter ID card and say that that cannot be basis to identify him as a Ghanaian? How can you have other things? I mean, your SNID card, your other relevant documents, you say that that cannot be used as a basis, or say, unless passport and birth cert. I mean, these are not documents that people use very frequently. And the costing, I mean, the procurement process. How did you arrive at that huge figure? Why were they sovereign guarantee? And all that. You needed to clear this before you move ahead. But they are not willing to do all that, but they are just expecting to roll the process. And that's why we are doing this.
Away from the NIA and Parliament, let's head over to the GFA, where the Ethics Committee, headed by the Director of the Police Intelligence and Professional Standards Bureau, PIPS, COP Kofi Boakye, is to look into the allegations of bribery and corruption against some officials of the association. COP Boakye, who has chaired the GFA Ethics Committee since 2016, will lead investigations into the conduct of the FA officials who were caught on tape by Anas Aremeyao Anas and his Tiger Eye PI team.
The GFA's decision was contained in a statement issued after a meeting by its executive committee on Saturday, June 9, following the public viewing of an investigative film by Ghanaian journalist Anas Aremeyao Anas that highlighted deep-seated corruption in Ghana football. The conduct of the said officials has been referred to the GFA Ethics Committee, chaired by COP Kofi Boakye, to go through the judicial process. All officials of the GFA shown to have allegedly committed various acts of misconduct in the Tiger Eye PI documentary titled Number 12 shall step aside from their positions and steer away from all football-related activities with immediate effect. Anas's video featured top officials of the Football Association, including its former president, Kwesi Nyantechi, allegedly taking bribes to influence various aspects of the game, among other things. More than 100 referees were also caught on tape taking bribes to manipulate the outcome of games in a team's favor. The government announced on Thursday that it had initiated steps to have the FA dissolved, but the GFA has started internal processes to clean itself. The FA has also constituted a 5-member committee to meet the government in order to resolve the current football crisis in the country. COP Kofi Boakye has a great reputation for his tough, no-nonsense approach to dealing with crime.
And now to the Upper East region, where lepers in the Boko West District are calling on the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection to consider rolling them on the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty program for survival. The lepers have been abandoned and are struggling to feed.
Meet Azuma, Ayimpoka and Asitanga, afflicted with leprosy in an area where poverty is endemic. Each passing day is a struggle. In their condition, life is unbearable. Food on the table is by dint of luck. They would have been needing family support, but they have been abandoned. 72-year-old Amisang Azuma contracted the disease in the 90s. His wife left him a few years after his condition was diagnosed. To make matters worse for the 72-year-old, his 3 children, who would have shown him love and care, have all passed on. In this house, he now lives alone with his little cat as his companion. He does all the house chores all by himself, including fetching water and cooking. Ayimpoka and Asitanga are suffering the same fate. The Livelihood Empowerment Program, LEAP, would have been of immense help, but it is yet to trickle down to them. Richard Adongo is director of the Social Welfare Department in Boko West.
A district-wide registration of people with disabilities. In all, 3,445 people were covered. This particular group of people, out of the 36, only 2 have been supported. There are many, but how to actually get them out to register to benefit from any package from the government is actually a challenge, just because of stigmatization.
The 3 are calling on authorities to enroll them onto the LEAP program.
It's now the duty of the department to get closer or get in touch with the rest to see how best they can be supported, because there's money allocated for them.
Another lack of teaching and learning materials is affecting the quality of education in the Gabliga community. Here's a report by Eva Atibuka.
Furniture in schools for kindergarten and primary compels pupils to sit and write on the floor, while other pupils share a desk at the junior high school. Learning and teaching materials are also absent. At the kindergarten and primary levels, slates and copybooks are not available. At the junior high school, teachers say textbooks are also non-existent, contributing greatly to falling education standards.
Textbooks, no, all that. To talk of English, they are not even 10, up to 10. Maths do the same thing. And the other subjects, some are even none, we don't just have.
Hajia Misa Sulemana is the District Director of Education.
For some time now, we haven't been able to give schools the needed books. Most of our schools still use the very old textbooks that do not match with our syllabus of late.
Brave Aurora, based on TV3's reportage on the plight of the peoples, has donated 3,000 textbooks to the kindergarten, primary and the junior high.
We want to achieve educational outcomes for the people here. We feel that the community has a lot of potential, the children have a lot of potential, and it saddens us to go into their classrooms every day to see them lying on their bellies to write and to read, and it's also taxing for the teachers as well. And then our hopes is to make Gabliga School a model school in the municipality.
Now, the difficulty in accessing some communities and inadequate teachers are some factors worsening the level of education in areas known as overseas in the northern region. Some basic schools in the North Gonja district are currently being manned by between 1 and 3 teachers instead of the required 6 to 8 teachers. Here's a report by Peter Kwao Adato.
The White Volta and Oti rivers separates the North Gonja and Saboba district from the rest of the northern region. Teachers, we are told, do not usually accept posting to these areas because of the difficulty in accessing the communities. The few who do struggle each day to access their schools. Mankerigu, one of the areas in the North Gonja district, for instance, is about 45 kilometers from Nawuli, which is about a 30-minute drive from Tamale. To get to Mankerigu by transport, one will have to go through Bolgatanga, Navrongo, Sandema and Fumbisi, winding through both Upper East and West regions, covering about a 14-hour journey. After crossing the White Volta here at Nawuli, with this small old boat, the teacher is expected to walk over 40 kilometers to Mankerigu unless he or she owns a motorbike or bicycle. The 14 schools in the Mankerigu circuit are manned by only 45 teachers, with some schools having only 1 or 2 teachers.
At times, the children will go to school, and then when teachers are let's say in 2 classes, the other classes, no teachers. You see that definitely those children will go out. Children, they are not like adults. When there's no teacher in the class, definitely the child will go out. The child will go out and they go to the house and tell the father that no, oh, they have not taught it today, or there's no teacher in our class. Our teacher has not come. You see, so because of that, most parents do send their children to farms or any activity they will just engage them.
Kucha, Butue, Kungil, Kachin, and Malba, all in the Sabuba district, are also separated by the Oti River in the east. Both teachers and students can only access their school by using this canoe, while paying about 5 to 20 cedis per trip based on the level of the water. 7 students were told nearly lost their lives on Friday, June 1, attempting to cross the Oti River from Kucha for their BEC exams at Saboba. A teacher also drowned in 2014 while crossing the river to school. To reduce the risk associated with crossing the river, the Ghana National Association of Teachers (NAT) has supplied life jackets to the 2 districts.
Engage them and see how best we could do to at least reduce the challenges and the difficulties our members go through. Those that we cannot resolve immediately, we carry them along to the powers that be and the duty bearers to see how best those issues could be resolved.
The teachers expressed gratitude to NAT but appealed for a bridge or fiber boat to facilitate movement across the 2 rivers.
I also want to use this opportunity to also appeal to the benevolent organization, the District Assembly of Saboba, the government, so that if something can be done, at least a bridge to help us always have easy access to both sides of the communities.
Away from the northern region, let's over to the eastern part of the country where its Lands Commission has been accused of fraudulently registering the Nyanao Mountains in the Nsawam Edwadri municipality in the name of a private developer. Documents cited by TV3 show the Lands Commission has given varying assertions on the same land from 2010, indicating its availability for business. The Commission turned round to caution the owners that the same land had been registered in the year 2000.
The available document produced by the affected landowners of the Nyanao Mountain in the Nsawam Edwadri municipality, a search conducted on the land at the Eastern Regional Lands Commission November 2010, September 2016, March 2017, and twice in February 2018, gave different status to the land in the name of the people of Nyanwa. These searches were in lieu of a development plan to turn the Nyanao Mountain into a tourist site in partnership with foreign investors. However, few weeks after the people had entered a deal with the investors based on the signed document from the Lands Commission, they received a caution notice from the Commission that the entire land was registered by an estate developer as far back as the year 2000. The Nsawam District Police, acting upon complaints from the Nyanwa people, made a research from the Lands Commission on May 29, 2018, where it was revealed that the Lands Commission and a developer fraudulently extended 70 acres of land bought from another community to cover the Nyanao Mountain land.
Who actually sold that landed properties to them? If we, the owners, were those who sold the land, they should show us and all authorities concerned that signed the indenture the payment he or they made to us and receipt we issued to them and who issued and signed such receipt. When and where that transaction occurred and who were witnesses. Are those who signed the indenture lawfully representatives of the families? If not, Amin City should write without delay to Lands Commission at Koforidua to completely reverse the situation.
In their caution statement to the police, the adjoining landowners admitted selling the 70 acres and wondered how that could turn into 620.01 acres. The investor, according to the police report, has refused to honor invitations to give a statement to the police.
Our properties include our village have been fraudulently registered by Amin City, being aided by the Lands Commission authorities at Koforidua. Even police criminal investigation report reveals that the vendors who signed the indenture for Amin City sold less than 70 acres of land, which is not even near our land.
The people of Nyanwa have therefore petitioned the office of the President, the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, the Land Minister, the IGP and Land Commission, among others, after which they will seek legal redress.
And now to some international news. U.S. President Donald Trump fired off a volley of tweets on Monday, venting anger on NATO allies, the European Union and Canadian Prime Minister in the wake of a divisive G7 meeting over the weekend. Having left the Group of 7 summit in Canada early, Trump's announcement that he was backing out of a joint communique torpedoed what appeared to be a fragile consensus on the trade disputes between Washington and its top allies. Fair trade is now to be called full trade if it is not reciprocal, said Trump, who flew from Canada to Singapore for a meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. So we cannot let our friends or enemies take advantage of us on trade anymore. We must put the American worker first. And that's we wrap up news for this morning. NewDay returns shortly after the break.
Celestine Donko and a team out there inspiring you for the Monday morning, the 11th of June. Front pages. But before we go there, let's say happy birthday to Esther Redu. She is one of our very experienced PAs at the Achimota Hospital. This from Dr. Nanama Achiman. Say you're sweet, lovely, and you cook some very great jollof. So we'll come and enjoy some. Daily Heritage this morning reports that have blessing of NDC elders to run, says Mahama for 2020 is contender. That's the Mr. Idrisu there, says, well, he has the blessing of the party to run. So it comes with a photograph of President Mahama as well. Pure water seller turns guest house owner. The story of a disabled entrepreneur. And Mepe Fakpo residents drink dirty water. That's the front page of the Daily Heritage for this morning. On to sports. It says FIFA places 90-day ban on Kwesi Nyantakyi, and Kane signed 6-year contract with Hotspur. So Kwesi Nyantakyi is in the mix, and that's the back page of the Daily Heritage. Of course, there we have it. Let's move on now to our next daily. The Daily Graphic says GTV, Metro TV and Kwesi TV to show World Cup. And President cast sword for Takrady Port Expansion Project. Dr. Amwa calls for FIFA to revisit third-party interference in football. And Communications Ministry dragged to court. President is cutting sword. The folks at the ports and harbours are on strike. Let's see how we matched it. On to our next newspaper for this morning. Back page of the Daily Graphic. Maize processing plant inaugurated in Tumu. And Galamsey fight not against livelihood of people. That's some clarity there. We're talking about the dangers and everything else. It's not against the livelihood of people. It's actually to protect all of us. The Independent newspaper says massive road development for Western region. President Akufo-Addo and GCNet rolls out single sign-on to deepen integration of systems. So there you have it. The president said in Sefwi over the weekend that, look, I promised I'll deliver. I'm not a liar. Daily Guide. 4 Galamsey soldiers sacked. We'll tell you more about that. Kofi Boakye takes over GFA as Pips investigates that. And Siamese twins born at Ejura. Government sued over $86 million telco deal. And banner headline says Mahama Nana trade blows at Aplau and Sefwi. So if one was at the Western region, one was at the Volta region, how are they trading the blows? We'll tell you about the central point where they met. But the BNFT build sinking fund to retired debt. Tekpe, former Minister for Finance, advises showdown between telcos and NCA as deadline to connect the Kelly GVG elapses today. There's a court, suit there. Front page of the Ghanaian Times, public health alert. Government warns against Galamsey. It exposes mining communities to higher levels of toxic metal, contaminates water, soil, food. So what? They should move from their communities. Honorable Mustafa Amin, good morning to you. And we have delivered our campaign promises. Veep. Calm returns to Jamestown after Friday's shootings. and 7 perish in ghastly accident at Dominasi. The page 17 of the Ghanaian Times has that as well. The Business Day says UT Capital and Unibank customers in trouble as Bank of Ghana fails to honor their checks. The Bank of Ghana is picking and choosing which checks to honor. And the 7 biggest CEOs out of job. It comes with a photo of Dr. Anya, reigning CEO of the year, Klenam, Asasari, and of course another gentleman there. Interesting times in Ghana. Gold Street Business says oil refinery must be the preserve of private sector. BDCs must play a role. And 10,000 households in Accra to benefit from MEDA's ESDM project. 10 years to meet local content requirement. And private sector uses over 50 billion US dollar petroleum hub agenda. So those are the front page stories. Let's get into the details now as we make progress today.
But on Ghanaian Times, there's an interesting public health alert where the government is warning against galamsey because of, you know, it exposing mining communities to high levels of toxic material. My worry again is the warning. You are issuing a warning which has been known. Every time we fight against galamsey, we tell of the implications there are. So it's not about warning us because we know, but it's about making sure that you prevent it from happening. And that is what this fight against galamsey has been. But I mean, there's always this ascendancy, there's a hype, then it just mellows down. Oftentimes we've said that we haven't heard the people who started the fight actively speaking on it as we expected. At some point we don't hear much from the, you know, Ministry of Mines. They don't say anything. We heard it was an, you know, a collaboration between many agencies. We don't hear anything from those other institutions. So when you warn us, we've heard it, but what do we do? What are the steps you're also putting in place to make sure it doesn't even happen? Because as of now, it is happening. So are you going to make sure that everyone who comes to hospital because of these conditions is going to be treated for free because we have made the environment so and we have caused the issues? Or what is the way forward? So it's not enough to issue the warning. I'm looking at those who have already been disturbed or maimed in some way, or their health condition has been, you know, detrimental because of these activities people have done in the areas. What is government doing to make sure it caters for its people, aside from just the warning you issue?
Protect us. Look, let me tell you a story. Now, if you go to the Bongo district of the Upper East region now, the water there that they are drinking, is it the level of, is it, there's a particular chemical in water? Is it a calcium or something?
pH? Usually there's mercury when they're mining.
But over there, yes, I think the lead level or something, I stand to be corrected, I think I've missed, right? Yes, something, is such that if you stay in that district and you keep drinking that water, every person in that district has a colored teeth because of that. And it's a huge problem there, okay, that in fact authorities there are struggling to deal with. In fact, it's been there. In fact, the Bongo now has complained about it. The district chief, everybody is complaining about it, and yet there seems to be no attention paid to them to deal with it. And they are so drinking that same water. So, like I must say, I get worried when I hear public officials warn us. Good, let them tell us that this is the problem. But how do we deal with it? Okay, because you have the power of the state to stop galamsey. Warning us is okay, but warning and what? Those are questions.
You know how people take care of their own, in the sense that when even there's a fire, everyone who suffered from that fire, whether physically, just the fact that you were even there, they take care of your health bills, everything is catered for, because they see it as the government failing the system and so allowing a particular issue to happen, and they own it and take responsibility for it. I'm wishing Ghana would get to that point.
Look, I did a little search. If you have $10,000, you're able to get a borehole with a solar, you know, pump
system.
Yes,
that can
mechanize it. So it will pump the water and store it in a reservoir for you. $10,000 for a whole community. Are we saying that it's beyond us as a country?
No, it's
when
not.
we mount the political platforms to tell the people we care for you and Mukwaino and all those things. This is the real challenge. And you see, like Amma said, we're told that the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Science and Innovation, and the other time I was asking the Minister for Health why he isn't part of the Galamsey Circle. I was asking him. I was also asking the Minister of Agric. Yes, I put a question to them directly. I asked the Minister of Agric, why is he also not part of it? Because recently, some portion of our cocoa was rejected on the global market because it had traces of mercury and cyanide and things in it. So we are getting to a point where not just the communities, even our foreign exchange will be affected. And we know the essence of cocoa to our economy. Now, beyond this warning, what are the practical steps we're putting in place?
Well, maybe we have started the fight, but is it achieving the results?
Everywhere in this country, Senior Bright, everywhere in this country, once you dig, you find water. That's how blessed we are. So, in spite of the surface that has been damaged, can we go further? Okay, if we're stopping this, is there a scientific way to save the people? Because obviously, like you're explaining, these people, most of who can't even afford health care, will suffer eventually. What's the condition of our chip compounds and our health posts? What is the condition? Are they able to deal with some of these issues? The toxic matter, are they able to deal with it? Now, the foods that are available to them, okay, if it's contaminated, do they have alternatives, or would they have to eat it and die prematurely? Those are the questions we need to ask. And I want the Minister for Social Protection to be interested in this particular matter. Health Minister, Agric Minister, Social Protection Minister, to be interested in this particular one.
Very well. Let's move out there and join George. He has a backpack. He's coming from Nima, and we're talking about the GFA corruption that was exposed in the Anas premiere movie, or Anas documentary. Yes, the number 12. So we'll be joining George very soon to talk about this and what FIFA has intervened to say and what that means for Ghana as we move forward concerning the football fraternity.
Well, it was a fine show, but I'm wondering why it was only shown at the Accra International Conference.
You wanted it to be shown in your house?
I think that he went to the Ashanti region over the weekend.
Yes, and there'll be Takra Day, and I think.
But someone was asking if it would also be shown at the movie houses.
Ah, okay.
So that people will go and be sleeping.
You see, I heard that Anas was organizing an after party, but the cast in the movie didn't want to attend the after party.
Yeah, but would you have gone if...
Okay, let's join George.
Good morning to Latif Abubakar and the rest of the team at Globe Productions.
Let's go out there and join George as he runs this morning concerning GFA corruption.
Expose number 12, and so we want to engage some minds here, and with regards to that, there been some developments here and there. GFA has banned the embattled president 90 days, and he has also rendered an apology, and if really the public is satisfied with that apology, and the Ethics Committee of GFA, headed by the PIP's director, COP Kofi Boache, are to investigate allegations of bribery against officials of GFA. And so let's discuss fallout of the expose with some minds here at Nima. Good morning, guys. Good morning.
But we'll go back there to join George. But I mean, there have been interesting things that have come out of this expose. Yeah. Obviously, we heard Kwesi Nyantakyi apologizing on his own behalf, and it came rather late. We keep saying that these apologies.
I think also that the GFA's statement came too late.
Yeah.
I think also
Johnny,
that
the story on the fine.
If there's a bit of
it's this one.
There's a bit of, if you like, integrity that's left and honor. These things would have been done a long time ago. You don't need the public to mount pressure on you when clearly you have been. I don't know. And I heard Mr. Edidoku put out a statement that it was not bribe and he's going to court. Really?
Well, let's go back and join George out there on the streets. The Nima people are eager to tell us what their views are on this bribery, corruption allegations.
I think he's greedy. That's why. It's good.
It's relative. You can't just conclude by just watching the content and say he's greedy.
He's greedy. Because the people came, the idea they bring is football. And you begin to say certain things about the guy, the president, whoever. And, you know, he saw money. So, I think he's greedy. That's why Nyantakyi, but it's normal. Yes, it can help to everybody.
Okay. So what are your initial thoughts?
Personally, I'm very disappointed as a football fan and as a Ghanaian, in that we all know that our Ghana football has been very bad for some time now. So if these are some of the things that are going on in the GFA, then I think there's a cause for alarm, because Ghana as a national team, you know, we are not even going for the World Cup in the first place, and that's a disappointment. And one could pinpoint that this kind of corrupt attitude could even be attributed to some of our affiliates who go for the 2018 World Cup. So there's a cause for alarm, and I'm very disappointed.
I know you went to the first show on the 7th of June. What are your initial thoughts?
Well, when I sat in the house or in the theater, and I was so much disappointed, because, you know, you pay money and go to the stadium and thinking that you're going to watch a fair game. You know, a referee has been bought, underhand dealings. You know, you sit and your team lost or your team loses and you come home and you are so disappointed to the extent that you can't even eat. You know, you have so much hope. Like, for instance, you know, people now bet on games a lot. And then you know that Accra also, oh, this one there, Muna, this game there. Yeah. But before you realize, you know, it has gone against you. So I think I was disappointed anyway, because with our referees, I don't blame them anyway, because probably the money that they are being paid, it's not that's good enough to, you know, take care of them and their family. So I think that I wasn't disappointed, but with the referees there, I can pardon them. But for the GFA boss there, this beyond my imagination.
Okay, but you know, investigations have commenced. I know the PIP's director, Kofi Boache, and the Ethics Committee of GFA are probing the matter. I don't know, is that what you guys want to see? Parliament has also, you know, set up a committee. So is that what you guys want to see?
That is what we want to see. We are governed by laws and rules and regulations, and we have to abide by that. If the leadership, you know, has agreed that this is the way we want to go, why not? We should follow, but we are interested in the aftermath or the tail end of
some arrest or something.
Sure. We can't stand here to judge that in the end, but let's wait. You know, let's wait and see how it's going to end. Sure. Yeah.
What do you think?
Like my brother said, we are expecting something positive from the government, because it's very appalling.
The committees that have been set is not positive.
But Ghana, we are used to committees. Anything. So this is not the first time, and this is not the second time. So we are used to committees. Okay. So, but we are expecting something positive from the government. Okay. Yes.
You think the setup of the committees is positive?
You know, I'm of the belief that the backbone of the Annex expose is to name, shame, and for justice. Yeah. And for the naming and shame, it has been done by Annex. So the justice is left in the hands of the government. Over the years, we come across Annex's expose, but the question is that after this naming and shame, what happens next? What is the justice about? What do we do? Because if we just close our eyes and become hypocrites, then I think then there is no need for the expose. Because if the people have been named and they have been shamed, then justice must follow. In that, it will be a daily rant. We are always doing this and no effort. So I believe that the committee should put their heads on the table and come up with a justice, because it's high time we stop some of these practices. Okay. You see. Okay.
But Mal, I don't know if you're privy to the apology he rendered, embattled President Yantachi. My in-law told me that this is a letter that has no remorse. There's no sort of remorse in this letter.
There's absolutely no remorse, because, you know, you could see that what he said in the set tape or in the tape, you know, you could see that he's well connected. You know the kind of button he has to press. Mm-hmm. So you could see that he's more apologetic towards the president, towards the presidency, but to us as Ghanaian football fans, he has he has nothing for us. You understand? So I think that the committee is too much. This is more like politics. You understand? I believe that political meanings will not be, you know, read into this, because I believe that Nantechi can work free if the right things are not done. Okay. You understand? If, let's say, the committee sets and they've asked the police, they asked the police to investigate. Exactly. You know Ghana police, they can manipulate them at any given time. So I think that, look at this thing that is coming from the presidency, the minister, and the minister say it has been dissolved. The Minister of Information said is in the process of dissolving. So I think that even the government is confused as to what to do. Okay. You understand? We need total overhaul of this thing.
issue goes beyond Ghana. So even if our police are going to be biased in a way, FIFA is there, they are also probing, BBC is there. So I believe in the end, I am very confident that Nyantichi will have to vacate that position.
But Judge, you know that they miscarrying out with these FIFA things, that they will ban us.
So it's high time those laws were reviewed. That this thing wasn't in GFA working in isolation and all that. It's high time. I don't. Maybe.
But we have the power to change that. We are talking about the global federations. So I don't know. There has to be a team that can champion that. But to some extent, I believe it has worked in certain nations. Yeah, probably it may not be so good in terms of African, federation governance. But we have to check it. Seriously, we need to wake up as Africans. Our football is going down the drain.
It's quite unfortunate that my PE teacher back in Pope John was fingered in this. He took 300 cedis. But I was surprised you to know that would have all been caught on tape if that money was handed.
No, but George, if you are corrupt, if you are used to, and that doesn't go to anybody and say, take this money. He knows that you are used to what you are doing. You understand? That's why he brings that cash. See, somebody took goat. Even the judges are taking goat and what? And yam.
You see, this tape, like somebody take sheep and rice and oil.
But this is human, challenge. You can liken it to the story in the Bible where the woman was caught in the issue of adultery. And Jesus said, he who is without sin should cast the first stone. Or even that of Adam and Eve. I have said that if you pick 100% of Ghanaians, 95%, 5% will be the only person to pass this test. Everybody likes money. They're not going to feel, we the ministries, department, agencies, and whatever. We see these things. But
George, in this instance, you should know you as a referee, your decision there is very crucial in that this is a decisive moment whereby fans are, anticipating for a win. And all you do is to take 300 cedis and what? You fix the match. Let me take Suka, for instance. Yeah. I have known Suka because I'm a Catholic and I'm a martial. His approach? And I'm a martial. And it's against our rules as a martial to go for such a peanut. How much do you even pay for dues? The dues
was a match commissioner.
You see, the dues you even pay is even more than 300 cedis. So why even taking 300 cedis as a referee to just alter a match? No,
my brother. For the referees, I can pardon them. Okay. You understand? Why? Yes, I'll pardon them because listen, we are in a country that even we call it TNT. It's not. They are not giving bribes. They are giving.
Man, the Sukkah's game, look at the penalty.
They were giving TNT. That's exactly what. No, that's what they are telling. They are telling us. But I think that the boss, who is the big fish, I don't know. He's just greedy. Honestly, it hurts me. Somebody comes to say, I want to sponsor your league. Already our league is dying. Okay. Somebody wants to pump money into our league and sponsor our club. So that, but you are there talking about your connection with the presidency and you can do this and fix them. Within 45 minutes, the man was able to write 2 MOUs. And that's very impressive. I was very impressed.
But I can say he's a smart businessman. He's a smart businessman. What do you think?
But I know Nyanti should be a lawyer. Let me say this. Is there a criteria? For how many years can somebody stand as a GFA president?
Mugabe.
Because I've known Nyanti to be the GFA president since I was a kid. But we see no progress in our Ghana football. Then one could be...
But he's taken, Ghana 3 consecutive times to World Cup. So it's quite laudable.
Let me take the Wow Stars instance, for instance. How can Wow Stars win Ghana Premier League? Look at it.
Even Leicester City won EPL, so
that's Leicester City for you. But Wow Stars, I know Nyanti to be a lawyer. He owns a microfinance. Okay, I know he has a chamber. So why would he go for all this bribe?
You see, that's huge money, yo. It's
the man is a greedy man.
No, that's relative. You can't just say this.
No, George. But for me, I'm expecting something positive from this because the judges.
There were some suspensions, yeah. The president suspended some judges.
What about the DVLA?
You arrest somebody in the ghetto smoking.
Is he?
The person goes to 10 years. Caught on camera with over $65,000.
Yeah, you know how law works. Yeah, he's been caught on camera, but there are still allegations. That's how the law works. That's how the law works.
This is not allegations. These are not allegations.
You can say it's evidence, but it's alleged.
Because I didn't want to hear anything on the airwaves. I don't want to read anything on social media. That's why I went to watch the first show. See, my man, the man claimed the team. he take the money, he pack. See, oh,
this is the original chairman. How
Patapa suit? He was in Patapa suit. What a shame. No,
give the envelope back to him.
But George, let me tell you one thing. Had it been you who took that $65,000, I'm sure you'll be an Insawan by now.
Yeah, sure. You have nobody.
So why? Are we not all citizens? Okay. So why can't be transferred to him? Okay. You know, the beauty of the game has been demolished. Okay. See, come Thursday, we are all going to expect to watch the World Cup. And I tell you, I speak to my friends and they are so jubilated. Friends are attaching themselves to other countries. Okay. Is that not a shame?
Okay. The discussions are very interesting, Trav. I would have to wrap up. Quite unfortunate. And these are thoughts of the public fallout of the latest announced expose number. Thanks for staying there. Now, you've seen some of the front pages of the newspapers and a lot of issues from over the weekend. The Yantishi story still dominating some of the newspapers. Heritage talks about the NDC's leadership. A new face pops up and he says he has a blessing of elders to run, says Mahama 2020 contender. The finder carries the Kwesi Yantichi's story and lied against them. Yantichi confesses and apologizes. The Times has a public health alert. Government warns against Galamsey. It exposes mining communities to high levels of toxic metal, contaminates water and soil and food. That's the story. And we have delivered on our campaign promises, the Vice President. A daily guide, Mahama Nana trade blows at Aflao and Seshi. That's the big one there. Kofi Boachi takes over GFA. Some 4 Galamsey soldiers arrested or sacked that way. Government sued over $86 million telecom deal. And Daily Graphic, Communications Ministry dragged to court. That story is still here. Dr. Amwa calls on FIFA to revisit third-party interference in football. Others, the independent massive road development for Western Region, President Akufo-Addo, he's still there on the store, and the Gold Street, the BNFT, some business stories. Mr. Tekpe, the former finance minister, is asking government to build sinking fund to retire debt. That's on the BNFT. And CD volatility disturbs debt sustainability agenda. That's a story on the BNFT. My guest this morning is Member of Parliament for the Mion constituency, a member of the NDC, Honorable Abdulaziz Mohammed is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
And hope your weekend was good. You've been missing for quite some time.
Yes.
I hope you're good.
Yes, I'm good, Bright. I've been missing for some time. I have to spend the whole of the recess in the constituency to attend to some issues in the constituency. And so I'm back for good.
I see. And how's the constituency doing?
Very well. Trust me, the Mion constituency is relatively very stable. And we are carrying on our projects as we plan. So far, so good.
Great to have you back, Member of Parliament for the Mion constituency. I'm also waiting for the Member of Parliament for the Futu constituency, a member of the NP, Honorable Alexander Finyo-Markin. But let's start our conversation. Let's quickly touch on this one, and then we'll move on. The government has issued a public health alert. Government warns against Galamsey. Now, the story is saying that the public is being warned against small-scale mining and the fact that it exposes mining communities across Ghana to high and potentially dangerous levels of toxic metals such as mercury, lead, and cadmium. These metals, the government noted, contaminates water, soil, sediment, and food, and in the process, inorganic mercury is also released into the air. Hence, the need for Ghanaians to encourage themselves to strictly adhere to our collective environmental policy. That's the statement signed by the Information Minister, asking the public to help in ensuring that illegal mining or Galamsey does not thrive. Let's start the conversation this way. Now, after some period of fight against illegal mining, this is the health warning government has issued, asking for public support to deal with the situation.
Honorable Aziz, does it say from the health warning that the fight against galamsey is being won, or perhaps we are not making enough inroads, and so government is asking once again for more public support?
Bright, good morning to you, good morning to our viewers, and good morning to my constituents back at Myong. Government should be reporting back to us, because the issue of galamsey is a very worrying issue. We are aware of some task force that was put in place, the Operation Vanguard, to fight the issue of galamsey. The issue has been put on some back burner for some time now. We haven't heard from the Operation Vanguard what successes they may have recorded, and so it will be proper if they get back to us for us to know how far they are faring with the fight against galamsey. We all have a duty as citizens of this country to help fight galamsey because of its enormous effects on our water bodies, on the entire ecosystem, and on our lives. And so I would wish the government well, and I would only call for a feedback. Let us know from the Operation Vanguard what successes they may have recorded so far, and whatever support that they need. I think the Ghanaian public should be ready to support them.
Yeah. Government is assuring citizens that the fight against galamsey isn't to deprive people of their livelihoods. We know of attempts by some associations, small-scale mining associations, to get government to back down on its fight. But the assurance is that we're not fighting against what you live on. We're only trying to protect our environment.
That is true. The argument of people's livelihood doesn't come in at all. You cannot use that one as a basis to engage in an illegality. I'm not sure government is fighting small-scale mining as a whole. They are fighting illegal mining, those who have no licenses and those who not respect the rules of the game. Those are the miners that the government is dealing with.
Right.
I would not accept the issue of livelihood as an argument. That would be to suggest that if someone has no job and goes to steal, the person can use the fact that he or she has no job as a basis to justify his action. I don't support that, and I'm not sure that would also make sense to the government.
Right, I think we'll leave that one here and jump into this one quickly. The Finder this morning has a story on page 5. I lied against them. It says that the embattled former president of the Ghana Football Association, Kwesi Nyantakyi, has backtracked on claims he made to some investors in segments of a video recording by a nurse in which Mr. Nyantakyi demanded kickbacks to pass on to top government officials, including the presidency. In the video, Nyantakyi alleged that the Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways, Anthony Kabo, told him that President Akufo-Addo would get 5 million, Dr. Bawumia 3 million, Road and Highways Minister Mr. Mwakwanta 2 million, Anthony Kabo 1 million, and then President Nyantakyi himself 1 million. The businessmen, as the appreciation to Nyantakyi for showing up, placed in front of him $65,000 and handed him a black rubber bag to pack the money into it himself. Now, the president has called for criminal investigations against Mr. Nyantakyi for falsely using his name to defraud investors. In his resignation letter, Mr. Nyantakyi, member of FIFA's decision-making council and vice president of CAF, said, "I wish to clarify," and this is the point we'll be talking about, that at no time prior to our or subsequent into any deliberations on the video did I consult, contact, or inform any government official about discussions on the video. I take sole and personal responsibility for the proceedings of the video. I gravely associated the highest office of the land, the presidency, with private discussions I had with scammers who deceived me into thinking they were genuine persons interested in investing in our country. He goes on to say that I hereby apologize unreservedly to the father of the nation, the vice president, ministers and deputy ministers of state, for indiscretion in associating them with the private conversations on the video. He resigned after that documentary. That's how far we know. Let me introduce my second guest. It's just Member of Parliament for the Afutu constituency, member of the NPP, Honorable Alexander Finyomaken. Good morning.
Right, morning.
I hope you had a good weekend.
It wasn't bad. Just that in the morning when You don't get the police coming early at Jolu.
You have to.
You
get caught
hectic.
up in traffic.
Yeah. You miss your 7 o'clock appointment here. Let me apologize and then thank you for having me. I listened to my colleagues'
on the Galamsey
views on
issue.
the Galamsey,
Right.
and fortunately, because I'm with Ghana Water, let me say that if care is not taken, it will be difficult to provide potable water in the next 10, 15 years. Because it's becoming very expensive to treat water. Recently, when we toured, the board of Ghana Water visited areas where we have our stations, water treatment
your
plants
treatment stations,
at,
right.
in the western and central region. The facts were that we're spending more in the purchase of chemicals for treatment of water as a result of the Galamsey
Even
operation.
after the
No.
fight?
I'm talking about the Galamsey operation.
Okay.
And then when the Operation Vanguard went in, it reduced. If you look at the effect of Galamsey on our water bodies, I mean, these are very serious. And I would plead, I know that for unemployment, it's been a problem. And if we continue to use that as an excuse, then we would mine and would not get water. And then it would be the responsibility of government again to provide water. But if you destroy the water bodies, how would you get water? I came face to face with this Galamsey business problem in 2015 when no water was flowing downstream into the Ayensu, and in Winneba we didn't have water. Although there was no Galamsey there. But because water was not flowing into the Ayensu, we couldn't have water. And it took the intervention of the then Minister of Works and Housing to put in emergency measures. So it's a very serious matter, and I would want all of us to cooperate with government. It's not an easy work, to be frank with you. Previous government did not get the cooperation of the public, did not get the cooperation of the stakeholders in that sector. I think that this is the time to deal with the matter once and for all. At the same time, those in charge of supervising the sector must put in place measures that would enable those who have license to operate legally
within the law.
Within the law, and then the reclamation processes must, be well adhered to. I mean, that is the bottom line. Don't mine closer to water bodies. Make sure that you comply with the law. Those in charge of supervising all these things must be up and doing. I think that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. But if we play politics with it, then no government would want to still move on in that direction when there's politics. But at the end of the day, it is Ghana that will suffer. It shouldn't be so.
I'm grateful. Now let's turn to the finder and the story, as we know, Mr. Yantish's apology, confession, and apology. That's how the finder puts it. And he says the photographs of the 5 persons he mentioned in here on the front page. He says he lied against them. And if you take a look at the story, he said that prior to that conversation with the investors, he did not consult, contact, or inform any government official about discussions in the video. So he takes sole and personal responsibility for the proceedings on the video. Honorable Funyamakin, so he said he did not consult any of them and that he lied against them. How do we take his confession and his apology?
On the face of it, the man has said that he takes responsibility for his own actions. There is no other secondary meaning to it. There's no other secondary meaning to it. That is it. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but that's how it is. People mentioning people for whatever purpose, and sometimes in our own conversations that we engage in, whether private business conversation or whatever, throwing names about, you know, people must be mindful that it could end you this way. Obviously, no person will be happy if his name is mentioned of having engaged in any act when indeed he knows nothing about it. So I think that Mr. Nyantechi, being a lawyer himself, knows the consequences of his actions, that it could even be defamatory, you know, to engage in a convo that seeks to affect another person's reputation. In this case, the President of the Republic, the Vice President, and some other public officials. So I think that he apologizing is the right thing to do, acknowledging his error. And on the issue of Anas's work, I think that much as we would encourage Anas and other public-spirited individuals or citizens to help in the fight against corruption, I am of the view that we should equally push for means of ensuring that evidence that is procured is so procured within the confines of the law. Look, last year we woke up to an unfortunate situation where people lynched upon a suspicion. And we know of the issue of Major Mahama of blessed memory. We are equally aware of the AFRC Let the Blood Flow, where people have regrets for engaging in a thing like that. My worry is that if care is not taken, we may undermine the judicial authority in respect of the rules of procedure known in our criminal jurisprudence. That is my worry.
Explain.
You see, we know that when somebody commits an offense, we have the actus and the mens.
Right.
There are ingredients to prove the guilt of a person under a particular offense. And all these must be available. Now, if we allow the system to compromise these rules and care is not taken, people would look for the alternative. Yes, I agree. Name and shame and name, shame, jail.
Right.
But if care is not taken, people would be dealing with the name and shame and leave the jail. So instead of now pursuing matters in the courtroom, the gallery will be judging. And you see, when the gallery begins to judge, there's a danger. If care is not taken, before you could defend yourself, it is over. And that is my little problem I have with the trend of affairs. For instance, in the past, it was expected that anytime a new government assumes office, the previous regime and its members were corrupt. So people will start getting ready to be assembled at the police stations, or will be asked to go to report themselves and all that. In the past, whenever there was a coup, the next thing is that you find yourself at Insawum before you are called to defend yourself. We have changed that. And over the weekend, I listened to Mr. President say that, look, it is not about just going after people. If you want to prosecute, look for evidence. Evidence that would work in the courtroom. So it is not enough to merely say that somebody is corrupt, but back it with that evidence, and that evidence must be tested in a courtroom. As a lawyer, a politician, and somebody who is part of the public discourse, I think there is every danger in this country if we don't limit ourselves to the rules, the known rules. But we say that, oh, Kojo Mensah is guilty because I've watched a video, I've listened to a voice. Yes, it may be so. I agree. But was it placed on nothing? There may be circumstances leading to certain things coming up. And these are the things that when you subject it to the law would help to interrogate. The law may be slow, but at the end of the day, it is the surest way, with the greatest respect. And we are behaving as if today it is Bright. It's not me. Today it is Kojo Mensah. It is not me. But you never know when it may be you. That is why I think that having developed our law, let us continue to have confidence in the law. Activists who are helping in anti-corruption crusade, anti-corruption investigations must be encouraged to look at their work within the confines of the law, to create certainty of outcome, to ensure that the tested principles are followed. You read Article 18.2 carefully, and 42E carefully. The combined effect of these two provisions. Maybe could you permit me to use your card today? I did it. Yes. Right. Let me read 18.2. So
your problem is on the method. So you
18.2. Right. No person shall be subjected to interference with the privacy of his home, property, correspondence, or communication, except in accordance with law, and as may be necessary in a free democratic society for public safety or the economic well-being of the country, for the protection of health or morals, for the prevention of disorder or crime, or for the protection of rights or freedom of others. Then listen to 42. 42. Right. So we have 42. 41E. 41. Yeah. Okay. 41D. 41D. Yes. Right. 41D. That's the duties of a citizen. The exercise and enjoyment of rights and freedoms is inseparable from the performance of duties and obligations, and accordingly, it shall be the duty of every citizen, D, to respect the rights, freedoms, and legitimate interest of others, and generally, emphasis, and generally, to refrain from doing acts detrimental to the welfare of other persons. Look, I do not quote these provisions to condemn my good friend Anas.
What are you doing?
I am quoting these provisions to engage the minds of Ghanaians, to follow the law. Look, I would prefer the law than being emotional. The law says that even where you want to interfere in the privacy of somebody's communication, it should be so done in accordance with law.
I see.
The law says that we shouldn't do anything that would be detrimental to our fellow citizen. However, if you suspect a fellow citizen to be doing any acts that would also affect the country, as in corruption, due process must be followed. I am therefore saying that all steps that are being taken to expose wrongdoings in society must be so done in a manner that can be accommodated within the confines of the law.
Let me ask you this before you drop your submission. Could there have been another way that what happened between Mr. Nyantakyi and the investors, the referees and those who baited them, if I would put it that way, what other way could they have gotten to know about it?
No, I don't want to discuss Nyantakyi and the video.
Okay, let's leave them
all
out.
I want to say.
Let's leave them out.
All I want to say.
Let's leave them out. Right. Someone is giving a bribe. in the person's bedroom, hotel, or if we want to go down by the lay down rules and procedure, as you put it, what other way could we have gotten to know that?
Right.
Like Mr. Afenyo gives a bribe in the confines of a hotel or a bedroom or whatever. How else could we have got if we don't have cameras in there?
Right. In 2009, when NDC assumed office, the foot soldiers were chanting on the streets that MPP people must be jailed, correct? I remember President Mahama.
Confirm what he's asking you a question.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, this is very common. I mean, since 92,
hold on.
We're on the streets chanting.
Hold on.
It's not new. I remember 92 when Mr. Rollins left, it was the same.
I remember President Mahama, then Vice President, had to make a public statement on that. Now look, we did not come through a coup. You remember that famous speech by President Mahama, then as a vice, that look, we came through the power of the thumb. So let's allow due process. Do you remember that statement?
I do.
Good. I am saying that with all the emotions, with all this, somebody has done that, somebody has done that. At the end of the day, let's look for a space within the law to punish the person. I think, people may disagree, that showing a video ahead of prosecution
is wrong.
Prejudices
a
possible outcome. Showing a video before investigation prejudices or undermines or compromises the outcome of whatever legal process there too. Whatever it is. That is why when somebody kills another, and there is they say that go and do pathology, they go and do all those tests, you prepare a bill of indictment, even if you go into the box and you say you are guilty, they would enter no guilty for you. They say trial by a jury. Under no circumstance can any judge, out of emotion, say that, look, this one I'm going to do trial by, going to do summary trial. Like the late J.B. Dankwa case, because it's an MP, people were so sad. But you can't do it. Major Mahama, no matter what. I'm saying that if we allow the law to operate, it will help all of us, because you will never know when it may be your turn tomorrow.
Okay. I think my question is not answered. Maybe next time when you have the opportunity.
Maybe I've not understood it.
Yes. Because if the problem is with the method, if two people engage in corruption under this table, how do we get to know? What other way can we get to know? That's what I wanted. But let me go to Honorable Aziz. I'll come back to you. Now, Honorable Aziz, so...
No, it's not about the way... Right. My issue is not about how you get to know. But my issue is about the punishment.
Okay.
How you deal with your evidence. That is, you see, because you see, the Evidence Act is here. You may be dealing with the relevant evidence.
Okay, yes.
But its admissibility is another matter.
Okay, all right. Okay, exactly.
You may have a relevant
I'll come back to you because...
But admissibility is another matter.
Some legal minds have said that, well, that is why further investigations are done, so that when the evidence is collected, they can stand in court.
But not when the person has been judged already.
Well, we'll get there.
That is why I think that
let me come to you. Process. So the final says he said he lied against them.
Against the president, vice president,
yes, and the names here. And he also raises issues about the whole
and
process.
Rights and the processes. You see, let us engage in this matter without partisanship. It will help all of us.
Oh, certainly. I mean, I think that's our approach.
We should not make any efforts to defend a wrongdoing. You see, corruption is something that as a country we have all agreed on, that it is bad and we must fight corruption at all costs. Successive regimes have made efforts to fight corruption. It is still with us. And so when we are talking about corruption and people engaging in corruption-related issues, we must do that with some sense of nationalism. Now, let us commend Anas for what he's doing, because the gentleman is risking his life to engage in these things that he's doing. We must all commend him. In fact, not just my colleague here, some members of the society have also questioned the mode, the methodology of Mr. Anas and the Tiger Eye. Look, if you think you have some worry with the procedure that he adopts, you have a forum to go and challenge that. Okay. In fact, this is a methodology that he has used for a very long time under President Mahama, President Mills. In fact, he has always used this method. He has always screened his videos before going to court. And so, if anyone has any problem with the procedure adopted by Mr. Anas and the Tiger Eye, the person knows the appropriate platform to go and test the law. Now, this gentleman has also come under some threats and blackmailing. You know, people relating, now talking about what affair he has with some other ladies. That is not what we are looking for. That is not what we are looking for. These threats and trying to blackmail Mr. Anas must just stop. Let us speak to the issues. Now, when you talk about respecting the rights and freedoms of individuals, what in this case? Can you point to me one single act of Tiger Eye or Mr. Anas that has denied anybody in this country of his right or freedom? For the sentiments of the public, it's understandable that we are talking about a very prominent person in this country. We are talking about an attempt to compromise the head of state. We have every right to get worried about it. There's evidence, in fact, there's video to suggest that the soccer industry is total compromise. It has lost its integrity. And so we must understand the emotions and the sentiments of the public. But you see, Mr. Anas is not just stopping at the premiering of the video. The gentleman is proceeding to court so that we will subject that video to test. People who are found guilty will be dealt with. And so let us all support the process. If you think you have a problem with the I watched the video on the first day. In fact, there were some members of the current regime who were also with me. Some of them even walked out even before the end of the video because they were terrified by what they saw. Come on. You can't just imagine our GFA president, our referees, football administrators, who have compromised the soccer industry, and we're now scaling up to compromise the seat of government. That cannot be accepted. And when we seek to raise some of these questions, there's nothing partisanship about it. Whether it is President Akufo-Addo, Vice President Bawumia, or any other person, we must ask these critical questions. Now, the presidency reported Mr. Nyentechi. In fact, not the presidency, the president reported Mr. Nyentechi to the CID for investigations. Look, I have said it publicly, and I'm sure you know that the position of the minority is that we have lost trust. We have lost trust in the person of the CID boss. We are not sure she can do a clean job for all of us. We cannot trust her to handle this case, and we have expressed that publicly. In fact, my good friend here is a lawyer and a very good lawyer at that. Parliament recently passed the Special Prosecutors Bill. We now have a special prosecutor. Why is the president? In fact, the special prosecutor is mandated to deal with acts of corruption and corruption-related issues. Why is the president, who through the Attorney General prepared the bill for Parliament to pass, not refer that matter to the special prosecutor? Because everything in the video relates to corruption. And the office of the special prosecutor, per the law, is mandated to deal with acts of corruption and corruption related. You see, we must be worried. Now, the government says that they are taking attempts to dissolve GFA. The sports minister comes out to say that they have dissolved GFA. Even the communications is untidy. It's untidy. And so we have every right to ask questions. I have watched the video. There is every evidence to me as a layperson, I'm not a lawyer, that people were engaged in acts of corruption.
they will be given the appropriate platform to go and either admit or deny. As for Mr. Nyentechi saying that he lied against the president, the vice president, and the minister for roads and the deputy minister, what did you expect him to say? That he's talking about the executive president of the land. What do you expect him to say? He can only accept personal responsibility.
So you're not saying that he's not saying the truth?
I have doubts about it. Even when you watch the video, towards the end of the video, the president and the vice president were given an opportunity to react to it. And all that the president said was that he has no knowledge of what Mr. Nyentechi was doing and that he had never engaged him on that matter. And I asked myself, you don't expect the president to admit to some of these wrongdoings. In fact, it is public knowledge that Mr. Nyentechi is a close pal to Mr. President. He could not have been speaking out of a vacuum. You see, we cannot judge Mr. President to be entirely wrong or right on this matter. And so the proper thing is what Mr. Anas is doing, to scale up the matter to a law court. Let his lawyers engage Mr. Nyentechi and whoever was mentioned in the video to come and admit or deny. But as for the freedoms, you quoted Article 18 and 41.
41. Yeah.
Look, nothing tramples on the rights and freedoms of Mr. Nyentechi or any other person. There's nothing wrong with showing a video of what people were engaged in. There's nothing wrong with it. If anybody has any problem with it, the person knows where to go to. Why? Is this the first time that Mr. Anas and Tiger Eye are showing a video when they went to the ports and they came to show it? We're all happy. And in fact, there were instances where President Mills had to collaborate with Tiger Eye to conduct some of these investigations. And so we must support him as a country. Simply because the president and the vice president were mentioned, we should not make an attempt to engage in partisan argument. That will not help all of us. Right. We all have a duty to protect the public purse. I cannot just assume that simply because Mr. President and the Vice President were mentioned, they are guilty. No, but the fact still remains that they were mentioned by Mr. Nyentechi when he was talking to what he now refers to as scammers. In fact, Mr. Nyentechi in his letter says that he was talking to scammers that he mistook for genuine businessmen. In fact, as a country, we are happy that they were scammers and not genuine businessmen. If they were, what it meant is that we would have been paying some $15 million US just for the purse of some few individuals. How can you go ahead to say that the president sold his family properties for his campaigns and that his family demands 5% on every government contract? If this is true, then we're in trouble as a country. If this is true, then we are in trouble. In fact, I even expected the family of Mr. President to react to this matter. Whether it is true that as a family, they are demanding 5% of every contract that's awarded under President Akufo-Addo. That is very, 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 very worrying. For the Ghana Football Association president, who is also a close pal to the president, to have indicated that you can compromise Mr. President with just $5 million US. That is worrying. And that you need to give $3 million US to the vice president, $2 million US to the roads minister. I mean, it is terrifying. This is not matters that we can joke with. No, and we must do everything possible to avoid partisanship. Whoever was seen in the video and whoever was mentioned in the video must have some questions to answer. But I think that the appropriate forum to deal with this matter would be Mr. Martin Amidu, the special prosecutor.
And not the CID.
Not the CID, because look, why? Mr. Nyentechi goes to write his statement at the CID. Within 24 hours, copies were with some media houses who were trying to draw in President Mahama and the NDC. That cannot be a professional conduct on the part of the CID, especially the CID boss. I mean, we have stated our position on the conduct of the CID boss, and the appropriate forum, person, office to deal with this matter
is a special prosecutor.
Right. The president must be bold enough to refer this matter to the special prosecutor. You know, Parliament was
quickly wrap up. Let me get his reaction before I come to you.
A parliamentary probe into the matter but the matter has been arrested with the announcement that GFA has been dissolved. And so who are you engaging on? I think that a special prosecutor must be activated to deal with this matter. That would engender more confidence from the Ghanaian public.
Okay, you want to make some quick reactions? Yes, very quick. I want us to talk about the NIA.
You see, my brother says that we shouldn't engage in partisan conversation. But he's making very unfortunate speculations here. His speculation is to the effect that he doubts the denial of Nyantechi vis-a-vis the statement he's put out. And I think that
it is his opinion. That's
no. And I think that it's most unfair. It's most unfair. Because you cannot in one breath say that you don't want to do partisan.
His opinion is partisan?
Hold on. And then you also end up in speculation and you impugn improper motive here. If you say somebody has made a statement and he says, look, I made this statement, I lied, I apologize, I retract, that is it.
He doesn't have the opinion to say that he doesn't trust that statement.
Hold on. If you say you don't trust, you doubt the man,
exactly.
What you are doing is that you are shifting to say that the other person against whom a statement was made knows something about it. And I think that
is that a possibility or not?
Please.
No, is that a possibility or not?
It is not a probability. It's not probable. We are dealing with probabilities here. A possibility, you are talking about possibility.
Yes.
So we should use possibilities to judge. Or we are using with respect.
Are you suggesting that he can't have an opinion about the scientific statement? Or what exactly are you saying?
Our opinions should relate elastically to the issue before us. Hold on. You have watched the video.
Yeah.
A statement has been made. Yeah. And the man says, look, I made this statement, I bragged, I apologize, I retract them. I made this statement, I mentioned Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C. Now you come on a public TV station. You sit here and you say that, oh, you doubt what Mr. Nyantechi said. You doubt whether the president knows something and that you want the president to say something. That is most unfair.
So we should all accept what Mr. Nyantechi said.
What else can you reasonably think apart from the fact that the man has gone to make a statement? Right.
I think you suggested that even in the video, what we see them do, we should just allow processes to go on.
Right.
So if
don't get me out of context. Hold on.
Quickly, I want us to deal with it.
The man makes a statement. He mentions somebody's name without any engagement. The man has been caught on tape. He says that I have mentioned a name.
Video. Not audio.
Well, he's been caught. I mean, videotape, whatever. You are caught on tape. And he says that I mentioned this name. I am sorry. You are saying that the man against whom the statement was made, or the fact that his name has been mentioned, he should also come and say something. And that you doubt. No, but I noted it. Hold on.
I haven't said so.
No, hold on. I deliberately
said so.
He said I have my thoughts.
Okay.
And then, so I am saying,
Mr. President.
No. I'm coming to that one. Hold on.
Should make a
hold on.
Gentlemen, quickly,
hold on.
That they are not making 5% demand on every contract.
Yes, that he said. But he did not.
Right.
He didn't mention the president.
Right. You see.
We are doing
politics, but we have each other's integrity to protect.
That is very
you are a colleague MP.
Oh yes.
You know, in your constituency, people can say all manner of things and do all manner of things, perhaps using your name.
Exactly.
I am saying that be fair to the president. Forget about you being an NDC. Forget about having your party interests. That is when I approached this whole thing, I said that, look, let us comment on us, but let us also look at what the law says, so that we can protect all of us and ensure that, yes, the person has been caught doing something wrong. This is the system that must be followed. Senior, let me finish. Let me finish. I listen to it. Hold on. What I am saying that,
What's unlawful about the entire process?
Hold on. I am saying that you are being extremely unfair.
On what basis?
Hold on. I am going to tell you why.
Please proceed.
You are being extremely unfair.
To who?
To the president.
Why?
With the speculation that you doubt Nyantechi coming out to apologize to him.
No,
that's what you
he can't.
That is what you said.
He can't. Can we say that? Are you
I have no problem with Mr. Nyantechi.
And now you are saying that his family members should come and issue a statement. The man has apologized. What are the statements?
I cannot tell Mr. Nyantechi who to apologize to and who not to apologize to. But I'm saying that I didn't expect Mr. Nyantechi to admit that Mr. President had some knowledge of what he was engaged in. And
don't say that you didn't expect him to admit.
I also didn't expect Mr. President to admit.
Meaning what? No, meaning what? Hold on. Meaning what? Meaning what? You don't expect them to admit. Meaning what?
You were in the shoes of the president. Would you admit?
That what?
That you were engaged in some bribery allegation and that you had asked your deputy minister to also engage Mr.
Honorable member.
Is it not a legitimate question to ask? Is this not a legitimate question to ask?
Now let's repeat his question.
Would you have admitted
if I don't know, I don't know.
Okay, then that's it. No, I'm not asking market. Then that's
it. No.
What of if?
Exactly.
Where is the if? The person doesn't know and doesn't know. No, I'm not markings. Marking is my name. Don't say if.
I have moved on. Gentlemen, I have moved on.
If today somebody uses your phone.
And you trust that.
Of course.
So what if I express that about him?
I doubt about you must have basis to doubt.
Honorable Senior Market, Honorable Abdulaziz.
Your basis for having trust in the ways of Mr. Nyantechi and Mr. President.
What do you mean? By you doubt the president?
Honorable members, can we make progress?
Okay. What is your basis for doing so?
I've just asked
if you are saying you are not being partisan, then be honest.
No, honorable members, I agree. I have moved on. Honorable members of Parliament, order. I have moved on. Please, order. I have moved on. Please, I have moved on. I have moved on, please. Honorable Senior Market, I have moved on. I have moved on. All right, let's touch on this one before. Honorable members, please, let's move on.
Defend yourself, President.
Challenging him
to go to the appropriate forum to either admit or deny.
Okay. Let me quickly touch on this. Honorable members of Parliament, please let us move on.
What else must he say?
Okay, let me touch on this one. Honorable Abdulaziz, let's quickly touch on this one before we wrap up. The minority is talking about boycotting the NIA registration. And they are raising, Honorable Aziz, please, let's cut that matter short. The minority is boycotting the NIA registration. They are citing the fact that NIA has told Parliament it was coming to sit down and talk with them, but that announcement never materialized, and all of a sudden we're told the Parliament will have its card tomorrow. The minority isn't happy. They are talking about the cost. They are talking about the school. We're also raising concerns about the passport and I think the birth certificate to be used. Indeed, the two of you are from Parliament. Is it the case that minorities suspect NIA disrespecting Parliament or what? Honorable Abdulaziz.
Yes, Bright, I can confirm to you that the minority would not participate in the registration exercise that
tomorrow
that is scheduled to start. I think today or so at Parliament House. We have issued a statement explaining why we will not participate in that process. And we are also indicating that tomorrow, Tuesday, we would address the press to throw more light on the reasons why we cannot participate in the registration exercise. I would not want to
delve into the details of the matter even before we address the press tomorrow. I'd want to accord the caucus and the leadership that respect that tomorrow, Tuesday, they would engage the media and, for that matter, the entire country about some of the reservations. In fact, the NIA was supposed to appear before Parliament to brief us on some matters that we had raised on the floor. And for reasons unknown to me, it was not part of the business statement that was read to us last week, Friday.
Were you in Parliament on Friday?
Yes, I was in Parliament.
It was part of it, please.
The business statement.
They dealt with it, please.
So
NIA was dealt with, my colleague.
Well, the story, quickly. Honorable Aziz, please, let me read this issue that Honorable Ofinyamakin. Now, the Finder is reporting that the said meeting, he said, was duly advertised in the business statement at least twice, only to be postponed again indefinitely when the business statement was read by the Chief Whip, Kwesi Treme, last Friday. So it was advertised twice, but last Friday, according to the Finder, it was postponed.
Yes.
So,
and I'm saying that the issue was dealt with. Now, what is the basis? Hold on. What is the argument of the minority?
The argument is
I've
that
you have your 10.
They failed to do what?
That's what the minority. So you allow him to go. But I was
they failed to do what?
You'd have your
10 turn up in Parliament.
To do what?
To brief us.
To brief
on
the
what?
House on the issues that were raised. So you allow him to go.
No, what do you so first of all take us through the issues that were raised.
Oh, so you see.
For us to have it.
Please allow him.
No, but we are having a conversation.
So when I said,
take us through.
Please allow him
the issues that were raised.
Please allow him. When I come to
the matter was not dealt with, you said no.
Of course,
it was dealt with on Friday.
Of course, yes, it was.
Please, because we're running out of time, please you go.
The report, and now you have come to the understanding that they never appeared before.
I've not said they have. I said they were programmed.
District Assembly Common Fund and there's a third institution I have forgotten were built to appear before Parliament to brief us on some concerns that members had raised. It never came up. They went ahead to do the registration at the Flagstaff House, and they want to come and start the same process at Parliament today. We are saying that until those issues are resolved.
What are the issues?
Those issues that we raised.
What are the issues?
We raised issues of legality, issues of scope, cost, and also the documents that are required as
what is legality as in what?
For registration. I have told you I will not want to go into the details of the matter because we'll address the press tomorrow. But look at, I mean, you are a lawyer and you should know better than I do on this matter, that for you to accept only birth certs and passports as a basis for registration.
It's not true. It's not true.
Oh, okay.
There was an amendment.
Honorable. Have you read the
can we quickly have your submission because I'll be wrapped up. The minorities' concerns, one of which is that the NIA seem to have shown disrespect by refusing to appear before the House
and going ahead to do the registration.
To do the registration.
We have several tools as MPs. You can file a motion, which motion would demand an action. You can file a question. You can also demand a statement to be made on the floor. Recently, Eslo was in the House in the matter of Kelny GVG. It was as a result of the minority asking for details of that contract, which she delivered on the floor, and they had opportunity to debate on the matter. What are they doing if they have genuine concerns? The NIA matter came before the floor. We amended the law. Qualification is not only limited to passport or birth cert and all that.
The story says that those who have the old national ID can use it.
Now, you can also have relatives to identify and guarantee So if somebody has no birth set, has no evidence of citizenship, you have relatives who can guarantee for you. We did that in the Electoral Commission registration exercise. So what is new? What is it?
So I think the worry is that the authority failed to come and explain these things to the House.
Hold on. I am saying that if
after it's been agreed.
No, you're getting it wrong. There are business statement would normally program a lineup of activities.
It was not postponed, that meeting?
No, the leadership would always agree. And on the floor, they did not raise any objection.
So the meeting was not postponed.
What I'm saying is
that's the question.
They always have.
Did the meeting come off? Did the meeting with the NI?
Please, when it comes to the business statement, there's a business committee. Leadership would always sit in caucus. They don't come to us. They deal with their issue. And I'm saying that for the record, whatever the minority is talking about as being concerns, their leaders are part of the business committee. Okay. And they have agreed on a roadmap. I'm not here to discuss.
So the meeting didn't come off. That is a minority.
No. If you pick it from that angle, you may get it wrong. I'm saying that they have agreed on a certain roadmap. That roadmap is for leadership.
For NIA to appear before them.
I'm saying that they
didn't appear.
No, what I'm saying is that
they are proceeding with the registration.
No, but what has the registration got to do?
This is a very simple thing. Was it agreed for them to appear before the House to explain?
No. But
what do we gain from that?
If NIA is in Parliament to register you, what is wrong with their registration?
Did they refuse to appear before the House?
They have not.
Have they appeared?
They cannot refuse.
All right, I am grateful.
It's not true.
He's a member of Parliament for the Futu constituency, Honorable Alexander Fenyomakin, and then member for Mion, Honorable Abdulaziz Mohammed, a member of the. And this gentleman, grateful for your Monday morning. You've made today a very tough one. All right. Right here, there's sports after this.
Welcome back. She holds a Master of degree in Philosophy and Family Resource Management and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Social Work, both from the University of Ghana. We bring you the inspiring story of Esinam Nyado, the driver who intends to train more women to take over the transport business. Take a look at this.
I need a ride to Melbourne. Wow, a female taxi driver. Have you ever rode with one? Come along, let's enjoy this ride together.
Esinam is one of the few women who are daring to survive in the male-dominated taxi business. She starts work at exactly 8 a.m. in the morning after dropping her children at school and visiting the washing bay.
I'm 40 years old now and a mother of 2 boys. I'm considered a social deviant. For all the right reason, because I try to step on society's toes. I mean, trying to question the status quo with regards to gender and occupation. I have a bachelor degree in social work major with psychology minor. I hold a master's degree, that is master's in philosophy. How did it all start? It started when I had gone back to school to read my first degree. But then my interest sort of got clicked when it came to gender issues. I started questioning society And then I zoomed in on occupations. But then I started questioning, why is it that our transport industry is very male dominated? I actually set out to drive a tipper truck. That was my vision. I thought I could get someone to train me. None of the male tipper truck drivers were ready to take me on. So I settled on a taxi, because with a taxi I realized I didn't need anybody's permission. My services are rated on hourly service. So I would serve clients based on the hour and charge them per the hour. Aside what I do as a taxi driver, I'm currently working on 2 projects. The first project is dubbed Women Moving the City project. And this project is training 72 women to drive commuter buses here in Accra, popularly known as the Ayalolo buses.
Welcome. Say now.
The second project just started, and that is dubbed Women Moving Trucks, which are both funded by GIZ Ghana, Scania West Africa, and then West Africa Transport Academy.
Driving a heavy commercial vehicle today, be it a truck, be it a bus, it's not difficult. You don't need to be strong.
We are now thinking of supporting also the initiative on female truck drivers.
It feels like a passenger car. It's just a bigger size of vehicle, but for the rest, I don't see a reason why women couldn't drive big vehicles.
She is determined to raise the bar in customer service delivery in the transportation industry. Dagna Rams is one of her clients who has booked her services ahead of the day.
I took Miss Taxi for the first time in 2014. I hailed the taxi, I looked inside, it was a woman, I was shocked for a second, I didn't know what was happening. I came all the way to Accra and it feels like I've arrived home.
It was convenient, it was refreshing, and above all, it was safer riding with her.
And in Ghana, when you talk about gender issues, it's all about women. But they say what men can do, women can perhaps do better. As Father's Day approaches, where's the hue and cry about Father's Day? We'll be back after the break. A few months ago, the people in Akolio had hoped and dreamt of a new school building. When missions team visited the area earlier in January, they were optimistic that something good would come to them. Bright Nanamfo and the rest of the team have reported that a new school building is almost ready, and the Assembly has promised to add on to make teaching and learning conducive in the area. Take a look at this report.
This was the excitement of the community when the mission team visited Akolio, knowing that the advocacy for a new school building will receive support. Akolio's school was in poor state. Classrooms were uncomfortable. Kindergarten kids sat under trees. This was a challenge beyond the community. They had tried to help their children by putting up this mud structure, but meager incomes prevented them from completing the project. The mission team visited Akolio in October 2017 and saw the poor nature of classrooms.
During rainy season, we can't even have classes. You have to go in and combine with their seniors. That's class 3 or class 4.
The advocacy started with the Education Directorate and the District Assembly to get a new school.
We are challenged. The number of classes keep dwindling as compared to the increasing number of children in our schools. And even though politicians will easily like to target as schools under threes or threes under schools, what they may term it to be, I think we have so many classes under threes.
District authorities took up the challenge, and then the action started with a push by the mission team. The Assembly broke the ground for the construction of a new school building in February 2018. May 2018, a new structure beautifully decorates the community. Akoloyo has for the first time seen a new building for education. The 3-unit classroom block is almost completed. The contractor has worked within the time period for the project. This will improve teaching and learning.
So that's a success story right there. And you know that the missions team is always out there hunting for some of these things to get results for you. The missions is brought to you largely by Stargun, also with funding from DFID, the USA, the European Union. And we're being joined this morning by the programs manager, Amidu Ibrahim Tanko. Tanko, good to have you. Good morning. And Franklin Kujo is president of Imani Africa. Franklin, good morning. Thank you very much. Tanko, I'll take your brief thoughts about this one. We went there, we saw the problem, we highlighted it. This is help coming to them. What does it say to you?
Well, I think it confirms the assumptions under which we provided the support to the media, that media does get results, that if you're able to get the media to work collaboratively with civil society organizations, you are able to achieve more than if you were working with civil society alone. And this is just evidence of the kind of results that we're looking at.
Franklin, you want to take a bite on this quickly?
Well, certainly. I mean, the collaboration or collaborative efforts are always useful, especially when the state seems to have abdicated its role. In this case, you are seeing citizens and the fourth estate of the realm taking charge and making sure that the right things are done. TV3, by the way, must be commended because you've been the pioneer. I recall during Kufuor's time, he used to complain that it's only TV3 alone that goes to every nook and cranny of the country to showcase the challenges that we face. But it doesn't mean government can do it all. Right. But in the face of other things, some of these interventions are useful.
Right. Tanko, let me come to you. So we're talking about corruption. Away from this, we're talking about corruption. The indexes doesn't seem to have improved quite a bit. If you look at then and now, would you say we're making progress in terms of our fight against corruption?
Well, we can say yes, in the sense that there's heightened perception among the citizenry.
Okay.
There is that almost inquiet desire that something must be done. But no, in the sense that if you look at the latest Transparency International rankings, we haven't, we are moving backwards.
Exactly.
If you look at the Economist Intelligence Unit's, rankings of democracy, they say we do electoral democracy, the voting part very well in Ghana.
Okay.
But good governance, we're not doing very well. So it's a very mixed picture. Yes, the citizens are becoming more aware. Citizens are becoming more willing to do something. But then the response from the state side has been very disappointing.
Frankly, the citizens are becoming aware. You've been one of the citizens drumming this home. And then what?
And then you expect that good conscience will prevail.
Does it prevail?
Well, if it doesn't prevail, you keep pressing, making sure that you seek redress at where appropriately. There are some very good people. Even the NASA's video indicated that there were certain people who did not yield to the corruption or the bribery. So there are good people. You can't say that there are a few good men and a few good women alone left in the town, and so we should be despair. I don't think so. I mean, there are instances. Look, this whole Kelny GVJ thing. Some two good persons, Maximus Ameto, Go and Sarah Safwaje, have gone to court for the purposes of determining whether their privacy issues are not going to be compromised. And that's real citizenship, you know. And so there's hope, I should say. I'm sure that the person supervising these kinds of things will begin to ask themselves whether they themselves have their hearts in the right places. So it's every little bit helps.
But in terms of the role of the citizenry, you find most of them on social media, or if you like, if you would go to court. How about transparency, monitoring, calling for accountability from the duty bearers in those public institutions? Do we do much of that?
Well, I think we are doing quite a lot. If you look at the program Tanko has been spearheading, the Star Ghana project, I mean, there have been exceedingly interesting results. The fact of the matter is that you see bits and pieces, as in the monitoring, before a project is undertaken, while it is undertaken, and even after, if you like, the horse has bolted, you still see value for money, some evaluations being done. So beyond even the civil society space and beyond the support we get from staff, for instance, there's now an army of people on social media who have been obviously helped by the kinds of work we do to now ask themselves and ask questions. Well, why did the man have to die because 7 hospitals turned him away? You know, and social media is awash. People no longer take these things for granted. And WhatsApp, for instance, which is the largest social media space in Ghana, it's awash with a lot of angst against the kinds of things you hear the public officers, duty bearers actually engage in. Well, they better take heed, because let's not think that people's emotions can be bottled forever. You know, instances where people have taken to the streets to demand all kinds of accountability. There were semblances, if you like, of it prior to the 2016 elections. I'm not here to gloat over some of the roles some of us played, but clearly there was citizen uproar to the extent that the state of misgovernance was no longer going to be tolerated. You never know how it will turn out, especially when in these times when people are expecting better and they are seeing daily occurrences of you know, mismanagement, corruption, and all kinds of things. It's worrying. So don't take the Ghanaian for granted. And even though Tanko says, it's true, we have a flagging democracy, which goes to polls and the rest, but it gets to a point where people become fed up. And, you know, let me share this funny story. So I listened to Adobe FM very well, Midday News. And there were these 2 gentlemen who said, look, they now know the reasons why they were not winning on the bets during when people were playing.
Somebody's collecting money,
and that they are willing to waylay people and dish out slaps. Of course, they meant it in a manner that was jovial, but you never know when they could actually get physical.
So Tanko, perception, reality. Now we have an army of people, as Franklin said, on social media. They talk about it, but oftentimes they will add the caveat, okay, wait till the election is closed. Is that what we must do?
No. I think elections are just one of the means of doing something. Last month, Star Ghana provided well over 12 million Ghana cedis, supporting about 35 civil society organizations across the length and breadth of this country to begin to implement coordinated actions. What we have had in the past have been isolated actions. Imani starts something, they go very far with it, but others do not join to ensure that we have a more holistic approach. Anas does an investigation, he comes out, we watch it, everybody says, oh, this is terrible. But who would take it forward? It's not there.
Parliament says they are investigating.
Well, so it is that kind of joint up action that we need. That yes, people raise the issues on social media. There are CSOs that are willing to take it, test it, provide the evidence. There are those that are willing to take it up with Parliament, go to court, and etc. I think that is the only way we can begin to make a dent.
Let's look at the hindrance of availability to key information, like the right to information, for example. Exactly. If I don't have information, and Franklin's money or any other think tank or CSO has not put out the information that will help me to raise the arguments and the questions, how do I go about it? What role do I play as a citizen?
I think first is for us to collectively demand for the passage of the RTI. It's not a favor the government is doing to us. It is our right. It is a constitutional requirement. That is one thing. And it is because we don't have the right, laws like the right to information that, methods used by people like Anas come to the fore. So those who are criticizing Anas methods, we say, how else do we get the information? Right. So one, we need the right to information. Two, we need Parliament to also step up to the plate. That beyond, partisan lines, we are willing to look at these issues, because the man who died yesterday, or last week, because there were no beds, it had nothing to do with his partisan colors. Right. Corruption affects everybody. Corruption deepens inequality in the society, and corruption is a national security issue. Those who are old enough to see June 4th would realize that if things continue this way, citizens begin to feel that people are chopping and they are suffering. We don't know how else it may manifest. So it is in our interest, all of us collectively, to join the fight against corruption.
Frankly, we cannot get a perfect system, but are we complete, at least in our processes at this point, to say, yes, we can step up and fight corruption in public places? There's Kelny GVG that's come up. There's this hospital issue that's come up. We're told of regularly how contracts are bloated. We saw it in the Anas video, for example. He said, well, an overpass costs less in New York than it costs in Ghana. Are we complete in our processes in trying to fight against corruption? Are we?
Well, the thief always tries to be one step ahead. So while you are doing this, this country has become a contract republic. But it's getting closer to become a cartel republic as well, to the extent that the elites across board have seen the formula, which you saw in the Nyantechi video, is to say that, look, let's forget about these other persons. Let's try and game the system. Which is why we are saying that if you are a follower of a political party and you think that your interests are being served by shouting Idebi Keke, Eshi Radu, you are wasting your time, you are wasting your life, you are decimating your life. Because when the day comes and you have only 54 ambulances as we speak, instead of 1,000, you die.
Nobody cares about
Nobody cares. The question you're asking as to whether we are properly taking the right steps and all of that, it's a useful one. You see, in the fact that there isn't the right information should not also stop us from demanding answers on status of implementation of certain projects. It's useful. And I like what Tanko just said. I mean, within civil society, we've seen the need. And through this Kelny GVG, we impress on the rest of the CSOs to come together. And you saw that about 22 of them. In fact, at the last count, 3 more are saying they want to join to press this issue. Out of that, we've decided that on a quarterly basis, we'll meet and review the state of affairs, so that in the absence of what the dance that is being done on the right information bill, we will be demanding questions and ask politicians to answer. Look, the CSOs, 22, we've demanded questions on this Kelny GVG, the document. Only one entity has responded, and they said, well, the documents are not with us, they are PPA. And this is supposed to be an organized state, led by a lawyer, led by competent people who should be probably better. It's a travesty, and I think that we should not allow these kinds of things to happen, in spite of the fact that, because I heard the last time in Parliament, they are trying to rip the right information bill apart. So there are certain aspects they don't like, there are certain aspects they like. Nobody likes sunshine, I understand that. But we should at least be able to save the national kitty. And for me, that is the whole matter. This Kelny thing. You know how much a hospital bed costs? Slightly used one, probably $100, and then be fixed. In our environment, $100 could get a bed, motorable bed, which will be useful. That's 1.78 million beds that is going waste, being given to a phantom project. That shouldn't exist.
Kolebu Emergency Center has only 40 beds as we speak. That's our topmost hospital. Only 40. So
40
I saw pregnant women at 37 on the floor with their babies, newborn babies. So I was thinking pneumonia and all those things.
Yes.
I was just thinking about it. And the colonel there was helpless. He couldn't do anything about it because
look at the latest figures on neonatal deaths in Ghana.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at the figures on vaccination, etc. And you realize that even the progress that we've made in the past, you know, we are retrogressing. You know, and this is something that has built over. So we're not talking about a particular government. We're talking
exactly.
We're just looking at the system.
Yeah.
Are we punishing people enough to deter them? So we have Public Accounts Committee. Somebody goes to auction public property, keeps the money in his account, and he is getting profit or interest and doesn't go to the state. Are we punishing people enough?
Well, I would say that, you know, we have the tendency of seeking a magic or silver bullet. That if this is there, then corruption will. So they announce, you know, Martin Amidu as special prosecutor. Everybody says, hey, you know, the Messiah has come. People say, oh, when we have right information, there is no single magic bullet.
Okay.
There are a number of solutions that need to, you know, work in complementary ways. So a strong parliament, right to information, civil society that is willing to seek the evidence and put it out, citizens that are willing to move out of their safety and take action, a media that is willing to go beyond he said, she said, NPP, NDC, and to focus on this. You need to get all these things coming together to be able to make a dent, you know. But of course, I think punishments are one of the
well enough.
Yes. Well, I mean,
a slap on the wrist.
Well,
frankly,
it used to be said that I mean, if you stole $1 million, it could be described as a misdemeanor. But there are laws dating back to the NCD decrees, the military era, that makes corruption a very expensive business. You go in for about 15 years. You actually lose quite a lot, but they are not cited in the court when they are prosecuting people, which is a travesty. In fact, the lawyers have said that these things are never cited. So that's why I said there's an elite consensus in order to rape us, so that when the matter gets to court, because if you don't cite the issues, sometimes the judge is incapacitated. But two things. You know, when Amidu was appointed, before Amidu was appointed, we wrote at Imani that, look, to fight corruption, charity begins at home. The official seat of waste and corruption is the Flagstaff House.
Why do you say that?
Because you see, if you look at all contracts, and this is not about this current government, but we've studied the figures and we've seen that between 2010 and 2016 alone, budget overruns at the Office of Government Machinery are staggering. In one instance, it was over 200 million Ghana cedis. I recall that in the late, when Muhammad left office, in 2016, he had budgeted 671 million cedis for the office. By 2016 end, they had spent 3 billion. By the time they had left office, when the figures came, it was 6 billion. So the NPP became smarter. You know what they did? They decided that they've seen the trends, and so what they did was to allow themselves 1.5 billion in 2017, and in 2018 double the figure to 3 billion Ghana cedis. So if there are any excesses,
so they'll be within the threshold.
They'll be the threshold. So waste is corruption. It is not called waste. That's why we are saying that if we look at the institutions that are at the Office of Government Machinery, a lot of them are not needed. In fact, during the Mohammed's time, they described them as any other offices that may not be necessarily useful. We just dump it there. So we have all kinds of, in fact, the Office of Government Machinery, in fact, makes the president supervise egg collection, condom distribution, all kinds of things. And those are conduits for all kinds of procurement shenanigans. So we believe that even you don't have to be instituting to set up all kinds of mechanisms after the horse has bolted. So you want to deal with it. Secondly, I keep saying that President Nanado's biggest legacy is not one district, one factory, not village dam, all those things they go around cutting sauce. It is actually the elections of the MMDCs.
Okay.
Because when we do that, the stories Tanko shared, well, you shared as well, that you hear of staggering stealing at the Public Accounts Committee, at least it will be minimized. Because then people will become much more involved in the process. Yeah, but of course, going to court is also another option. Just that it's expensive. And you know, corrupt politicians can hire the best of lawyers and can drag cases forever. We pray that we don't go the other option, which is to beat people up.
We will not beat people up, but I thank you very much for your time this morning. Franklin Kujo is president of Imani Africa, and Ibrahim Tanko is the program director of the Star Ghana project. We're grateful for your time this morning, gentlemen. This is part of our conversation for the Mission Ghana project, brought to you by Star Ghana with funding from the European Union, DFID, and all our partners there. Well, thank you very much for your Monday morning. As we said, win, win, win. That's all you want to do. Win, but win the right way. Don't be caught on the wrong side of the law. And if you find somebody who's being corrupt, blow the whistle. Good morning. Just do it.